Welcome to Lesson 11.1, Exploring Integers. Today we're going to talk about identifying integers, identifying opposites, identifying absolute values, and using integers to represent real-world situations. So first we're going to talk about the different situations in our life where you'll see integers. So the first one we're going to talk about is temperature. Since we live in Wisconsin, we all know about those icy cold days where we have below zero temperatures. On those days, you hear them say that it is -2 degrees or 3 degrees below zero. Okay, this is an example of when you see a negative integer, or you could see positive integers when you hear that we have 60-degree days or 30-degree days. That negative or below zero tells us that the temperature is below that zero mark. All right, in golf, you can be over and under par. So what this means is if you shoot a 4 on a hole where you're supposed to get 3, you are 1 over par. However, if you shoot a 2, then you are a -1. Because you didn't take all 3 shots, you took less than 3. In football, you can talk about the loss and gain of yards. Okay, so the quarterback can throw for a completion of 15 yards. He can also fumble for a loss of 5 yards. A running back can run for a gain of 10 yards. He can also be pushed back for a loss of 3 yards. Above and below sea level. Sea level is kind of like your zero. Anything below sea level is negative feet, and anything above sea level is positive feet. And money. A lot of times we don't think of money as a negative, but you can have a negative amount of money in your bank account. Okay, if you borrow $10 from a friend, you owe them $10. This means you have a negative $10 in your account. If you deposit $10, that means you would have a positive $10 in your account. All right, so we're going to talk about our some vocabulary terms here. First, we have integers. Integers are the set of all positive whole numbers, their opposites, and zero. So integers are all of your positive and negative counting numbers. They do not have decimals and they do not have fractions. They're different from whole numbers in that they can be negative and it includes zero. Right, so again, no fractions or decimals. If there is a fraction or a decimal, this is not considered an integer. Okay, and we'll come back to opposites in a little bit. So integers, we're going to talk about integers and look at some examples of how we would use them. So if we talk about the temperature in the US, the highest recorded was 154 degrees Fahrenheit. The lowest was in Alaska at 80 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. So how would we write these? Well, since this one, the highest temperature is 134 degrees, we know that that's positive because there's nothing that says below zero or negative in front of it. We don't call a number positive 134, we just say the number itself. The only time we put the word in front of it is when it is negative. So in this case, we would just write the number 134. The lowest was in Alaska at 80 degrees below zero. The below zero tells us that this is a negative number. So we use the negative symbol, and it always goes in front of your number, which is 80. This negative symbol lets us know that on the number line, it is to the left of 0, or how we say below 0. In football, you use positive and negative integers. You get 4 chances to get 10 yards. If you move up from where you start, you have positive gain in yardage. Okay, so if you move closer to your end zone, it's positive, and if you move back or further from your end zone, it's negative. So if the quarterback is sacked behind where you started, you have a loss of yards. So let's take this chance to go for an example. So it's Friday night. The K-Splits are on their own 26-yard line. The quarterback completed a pass for a gain of 14 yards. On the second down, a running play resulted in a loss of 5 yards. Okay, so the first play was a gain of 14. And the second was a loss of 5. So we went backwards. The next play gained 7 yards. So now we're up to 7 yards. And then the last lost 2 yards. So we're going to look for some key terms here and how we would represent these numbers. A gain of 14 yards tells us that that's a positive. That is a positive number. A loss of 5 yards is a negative number. So anywhere you talk about gain, it means positive, and anywhere we talk about a loss, it means negative. So in this case, to represent these numbers, we would have a positive 14, which you do not need this positive symbol in front of it. The loss of 5 yards would be a negative 5. You do have to have the negative symbol. A positive 7, again, no positive sign. We just leave it as 7. And then a negative 2 for the loss of 2 yards. Money. You earn $20 for mowing your neighbor's lawn. Since you are earning that money, that's money that's going into your pocket, so that is a positive $20. You owe your parents $13 for breaking the lamp in the basement playing baseball in the house. Because you owe them this money, this would be a negative $13. It's money that's going away from you. You won $2 playing a scratch-off game. That's money that's going into your pocket, so it's a positive $2. And if you spent $30 at the Brewer game, that means it's going out of your pocket and it is a negative $30. So anytime you spend money or borrow money, it's considered to be a negative number. Anytime you earn or deposit money, it is considered a positive number. Okay, so I want you to try the following on your own. I want you to look at how would you write the following situations using integers. These are the first 2 problems that you will post on Edmodo. Absolute value. This symbol, so a number inside 2 straight lines like this, means we're looking for the absolute value. The absolute value is the distance a number is from 0. So in your vocabulary, you want to make sure to put down your definition. And as an example, you can write down the 2 lines and you can put any number, positive or negative, in between those 2 lines. Right, so if we have the absolute value of negative 6, if we want to know the absolute value of negative 6, we have to go to the number line, find negative 6 on the number line. So we count backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So because negative 6 is 6 spots away from the 0, its absolute value is considered to be 6. Now a positive 6 is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces away from 0. So its absolute value is also 6. Just because a number is negative or positive does not mean that its absolute value has to be different from its opposite number. So anytime you see a negative 6 and its absolute value is 6, then you know that a positive 6 has an absolute value of 6. Right, so I want you in your notes to try and match these absolute values up with their answers, and when you come back, we'll check your answers. All right, if we're looking for the absolute value of 52, the absolute value of 52 is going to be 52 because it is 52 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of negative 70 is 70 because it is also 70 spaces away from 0. And the absolute value of negative 9 is 9. This is your third question that I would like you to answer on Edmodo, listing the absolute values of each of these numbers. The last thing we're going to talk about are opposites. Integers that are opposites are the same distance from 0. So it's like saying the opposite of climbing up 3 steps is going down 3 steps. For your vocab, opposites are two numbers that are the same distance from 0 on the number line, but in opposite directions. So one is going towards the negative side and one is going towards the positive side. So opposites will have the same absolute value. So for example, negative 9 is the opposite of positive 9. They're the same distance from 0, but negative 9 is to the left of 0 and positive 9 is to the right of 0. The opposite of 10 would be negative 10 because 10 is 10 spaces from 0, as is negative 10. They're just going in opposite directions on that number line. Okay, so let's try this. What is the opposite of positive 1? Well, positive 1 is 1 space away from 0 on the number line. So we would have to look and see what is 1 space away from 0 in the opposite direction. So going to the left is negative 1. So the opposite of positive 1 is negative 1. So if we want to find the opposite of negative 4, we have to figure out how many spaces away from 0 is negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now going in the opposite direction, we have to go 4 spaces and see where we land. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the opposite of negative 4 is a positive 4. Okay. I want you to find the opposite of these 6 numbers. I want you to do this on your own, and this is the last question that I want you to answer on Edmodo. So just to recap, I want you to make sure that you have posted on Edmodo your answers to the C-level questions, your answers to the opposites questions, and your answers to the absolute value questions. Again, if you have any other questions, make sure to post them on Edmodo or come with them written down tomorrow.